Hey guys, welcome back to Favorite Iron and Customs. I'm Michael. Today we're back working on the Mazda. It's Febudaily 18. As you can see, I've gotten up here and done just a little bit of scraping of the paint. So I think we're probably going to end up going completely to the metal on this. There's some rust in some spots where it popped up. So I'm thinking there was probably problems with the paint is the reason why it started peeling. So, I mean, not just the paint that I put on it, but I think there were some problems under the bottom coat. So, what I've got going on today is I'm continuing pulling parts off of the car. I've never actually owned one. I bought a heat gun because I want to pull the trim off of the car. I actually pulled one off already. Not with heat. I pulled this one off just the other day by itself. I don't want to put a lot of tension in this while I'm taking it off because I want to put them back on. I don't think the car will look, I mean, it might look alright with just the body line, but if you got that trim there, you know, that kind of saves you from somebody dinging into your door in a parking lot. So let me get set up. Well, let me get set up and we'll unwrap this thing. Alright guys, so let's open this thing up. This is a Wagner brand. It was in the paint section with all the rest of the Wagner products at one of the box stores. And this is supposed to be a, let's see, it's got a temperature control, 750 Fahrenheit to 1100 Fahrenheit. 1200 watts, 4,095 BTUs. It was actually the least expensive one they had. I can't remember exactly how much it was. I think it was around $27, I believe. It may have been more than that. I usually don't keep up with how much I pay for things after I bought them because I bought it because I needed it, and that's the end of it. So so we're getting this. It's fairly self-explanatory. I already got it dirty. Just has a plug-in socket, plugs in the base of it, I guess. I may not be smart enough. There we go, clicks in place. May have to read the manual on it. You know my thoughts on reading the manuals. We don't need no stinking manual. Anyway, that may be why it ends up burning up later on. Alright, so having massive problems here. Alright, there we go. Let's get y'all in the focus. Alright, so yeah, it doesn't look like it really has but maybe 2 speeds on it, hot and hotter. So let's get into this and see what we're going to do. It's not really going to matter too much if we blister the paint. The paint's already peeling, so it's not really an issue. But I do not want to blister the plastic, so I'm going to get set up and we'll get back into this. Alright guys, I think I said this was for the 18th. It's actually the 19th. I cannot keep up with my days for whatever reason. So we're taking this trim off. The paint did not adhere to it very well. It's probably a preparation issue, and that's something I need to work on, and I'm going to have to get, this should come off fairly easy. That's another thing we'll take and heat with the heat gun, but with this we're just going to turn on the heat gun. Like I said, we're not terribly worried about blistering the paint. We just want to get the molding warm enough to where it doesn't we want it warm enough to where it doesn't deform as it's coming off of the car, because we're going to try to clean it up and use it over and repaint it and use it over. Like I said, this piece came off fairly easy, but it's a short piece. I could probably get a plastic scraper or a blunt scraper, and since it really doesn't matter about the paint, we could probably use a regular scraper. Yeah. Alright. We'll just take our time. Yeah, it's bubbling the paint up pretty good. That's good, because I think I may use this heat gun to try to get the paint off the roof of the car too. Like I said, all I'm trying to do is keep the rubber pliable to where it doesn't crease or get cracks in it. So we can attempt to clean it up, refinish it, and put it back on the car. We're going to do the same thing with the door handles and pretty much all the sections. I need to get down here and figure out what it's going to take to get these ground effects off. This is one of those spots where I wish I had my new shop built and had a lift, but we're not there yet. We'll get there one day. Alright, that popped right off. Like I said, the paint's peeling right off of it. That is an absolute relief. Guys, I can probably put a little more heat on this and get all of this paint off, and it'll be ready to paint and go back on the car. And then all we have to do is clean up the two-sided tape off of it, and we'll be ready to paint it up and stick it back on the car. So I'm gonna rock out and get the rest of it off, and I'm gonna come back in a few minutes and we'll try to take a little bit of the paint off of the roof. But this is what I'm doing. I'm cleaning up the car, getting it ready for paint. Hopefully sometime, I don't think it's going to be the end of February, but I'm hoping sometime between the end of February and mid-March we'll get this thing painted, and then I'll be back. Like I said, I'm chomping at the bit to get back at my car. I've actually decided what I'm going to do about a paint job, and there's going to be a reveal on that long before the car gets painted, but we'll get into that in a later video. Alright guys, I got to pulling off that rear trim, and I thought I had broken it when it came off, but if you look, both ends is pieced together at the factory. That's actually pieced together at the factory. So I think I'm going to be able to salvage those. I'm not exactly sure. I need to check on painting flexible like bumpers and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not a painter, guys. What little bit of painting I've done has just been on this car and some race cars several years ago, and like I said, I wouldn't do it for anybody else. Maybe Glenn. I'll paint something for Glenn, and he'll give me shit the whole time and talk about how it needs to look good. I'll tell him if it needs to look good, he needs to pay somebody else to do it. Anyway, all right, let's see how this heat gun does on getting this. I'm gonna get a little broom and sweep some of these shards off of the top of the car. If you can see them. Let's see. My stand isn't quite high enough, but I did scrape a good bit of this. I'm gonna sweep a little bit of that off, put some heat on it. I don't want to put a lot of heat on it. I do not want to put any heat in that metal, to be honest with you. I do not want to warp it up. So let's just see if we can get it to peel with just a little bit of heat. All right, guys, what I'm trying to do to get this shot is absolutely 100% sketchy at best. So before I started scraping this off, I took the ends of the razor blade, focus, I don't know if you can see them. I ground the ends of the razor blade off to try not to dig into any, the paint underneath. My idea was hopefully to get the paint off that was on the car that I painted on the car and prep the original paint, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, that'll get it off. We just got to be real careful with the heat, and that's carrying it right down to the bare metal. So much for hoping to not have to prime the car or not have to metal prep the car, but anyway, it is what it is. So that's it. That's what my next few weeks is going to be like. Removing paint, fixing dents, and get this car ready to paint. Again, I may, if I get into any spots where the paint won't come off, I may have to use the conditioning tool, but we'll see. So this is working pretty good. I'll probably get out here one day this week, and that's what the shop night is going to be, is stripping panels. I may try to strip one panel every night or something like that. Get the top stripped and then start working on the sides one day at a time. And some places it appeared way better than others. Anyway, that's going to be it for February 19. Stick around. We'll get this car painted at some point, and then we're going to get back on to 50. And I'm not really sure. First thing I'm probably going to do on the 50 is get the fender wells back in it and maybe build the boot. But I'm not going to be able to go forward until I get the engine in place and know what the drive shaft tunnel and transmission tunnel and all the way up to the front. So the engine and transmission is going to have to be bolted together. I had intended on part of my Febudaily to be working on building the adapter plate to put the M50D R2, adapt it behind the 8BA flathead. M50D R2 is the same transmission that came in the F-150 with the 4.9 or 5.0 if it had a manual behind it. I don't know. Maybe there were 5.0s with manuals. I don't know, but I do know a lot of your inline six had the M50D R2 behind it, and the 4.9 and the 5.0 and the 5.8 have the same bolt pattern, so it will essentially bolt up. If you had a 4.9, you could put a 5.0 or a 5.8 in front of it without a problem. The only thing is the flywheel is different. The 4.9 is internally balanced. The flathead is internally balanced. I think the flywheel is 2 pounds less on the 4.9 than it is on the flathead. So what we're going to do is make a 4.9 flywheel fit the flathead and then put the M50D R2 behind it, and we can use all modern starter, flywheel, clutch, a hydraulic slave cylinder, the whole 9 yards. And the only thing that'll be like 70 years old is the motor. So, all right, that's coming up. That's some of the things coming up. I don't think it's going to happen in February. I don't have enough time. Like I said, this project was supposed to get started on in November, October. I don't know. So I'm like 4 months behind right now from where I was supposed to be. But you know what? I ain't going to stress over it. And I'd suggest y'all don't stress over it. Just enjoy your time in the shop and whatever else. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. Don't forget to like and subscribe.